Hi guys, my name is Sheon Salami. Thank you very much for joining me once again on another episode of Love Code on YouTube. Thank you very much for always watching all my videos. If today is the first time you're seeing any of my videos, thank you for joining us. Just make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a thing from here on. Okay, so today I want to talk about 5 signs of a healthy marriage. 5 ways that you will be able to tell whether your marriage is on the right track and your marriage is healthy or getting better. As they say, healthy things grow. So if your marriage isn't growing, or you feel like yourself and your partner aren't growing together, you're not connecting, there's probably something wrong somewhere. So this is not a know-it-all kind of thing. This is just we checking things out together. All right, this is I get a lot of feedback, and I quite appreciate it, that I don't exhaust everything. Like, there's so much more you could say. I'm not trying to say everything because I don't know everything. So when I share anything here, I'm just sharing it from my own perspective, right? The way that I feel like the Holy Spirit has helped me to articulate it at the time. Okay, so it's not about exhausting everything. So we're just going to talk about 5 of these signs, and the first one that I want to talk about is something called openness and honesty. Openness and honesty. Now, one of the ways you would know if your marriage is really growing is the fact that you feel very, very open with your partner. You feel like you can tell your partner anything and not be judged. Yeah, so that's one of the biggest tests of this, and this is very interesting. And if I want every time I have a conversation with anybody about marriage, and I bring up this as the idea of you being extremely open, no skeletons, nothing to hide, nothing that you are keeping as a secret. Those are the things that hinder growth, that hinder the health of a marriage, that stop things from going as far as they can go. So we want to be mindful of this, that openness and honesty, there's no other way around this in a marriage. There's no other way. You have to be open and honest with your partner, and this is how you would know if you guys are actually growing together. That's the first one. So you want to ask yourself, am I being honest with my partner? Am I able to tell my partner anything? And if you find that there's something wrong in that area, then you want to ask questions. You want to re-examine things and look at it. Is there something that I'm hiding from my partner that I haven't told my partner? And you find out that the more of those things you share, the more open you will become. It will be like a burden that has been lifted off you. I mean, if you have a secret somewhere that you're still keeping, if the moment you share it, it's like a burden has been taken off you, and you can now be free to go into things, more details, and be free with your partner. Just talk. This is how you grow to love somebody more, by being open and honest with the person. No matter whose reputation is at stake, no matter, this is your partner that we're talking about. So you can deal with any other thing later on, but you don't want your partner to see you as keeping secrets, from him or her, or that they cannot trust you with certain things. And if there's anything that your partner has told you in the past, you don't want to use that against them, because that prevents people from being open later on in the future. Okay, so let's move on here. Number 2 is good, mutually enjoyable sex. We're talking about the signs of a healthy marriage. Okay, mutually enjoyable sex is a sign of a healthy marriage. God instituted this. It was God who invented sex. It wasn't Hollywood, okay, that invented sex. God did, and He put it in marriage for a reason. And this is so that the partners can bond. They can come together. They can grow together. There is something that happens. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to go into all of that. But there's something that happens to you, right? Even biologically, right, in terms of hormones and all of that. When you consummate your marriage with your partner, when you guys have sex, in a marriage, there's something that happens to the both of you. You feel closer to your partner, and this has to be something that happens regularly. Doesn't have to be every day, whatever works for the both of you. That's why that word mutually enjoyable is so important, and the way that you go about it is also very important. If one partner feels like they're not enjoying sex in the marriage, it can be a problem. It can be a problem, and this is one of the signs that things are not going the way that they should go. And here again is where openness and honesty comes in. You want to talk about things. If you feel like something is not going right, if you feel like you are not having as much fun and fulfillment from this thing called sex as you think you should have, you should be able to talk to your partner. You should be able to have a conversation about it. And when partners are free to talk about anything without any sense of fear of being judged or repercussion, right, you know that that marriage is healthy. That marriage is heading in the right direction. And there is no singular marriage that is up there and that is perfect, right? This is something that people have to work on every single day. Couples work on this every single day. So it's something that we can also work on, no matter where we are in our marriages. We can work on it and just try to be open and honest and make sure that we're having good, mutually enjoyable sex, okay? And not one person being selfish at the expense of the other person. All right, let's move it along. The third one is spiritual oneness and synergy. Spiritual oneness and synergy. Bible says two are better than one. They have a good reward for their labor. When people get married, there is something that happens. Like you hear several testimonies. I've heard testimonies of people who, before they got married, they were trusting God for something, and they kept trying and trying and trying and trying, and it didn't seem to be working out. But they got married, and before you know it, things happen. I mean, even immigration issues sometimes. People are trying to move to Canada or to the US or whatever it is. They are trying, they get married. That's because the Bible says that two are better than one. And it says they obtain, either finds a wife, finds a good thing, and obtains favor from the Lord. So that coming together is so critical. And don't forget what Jesus said. If two of you shall agree as touching anything on earth, you would have whatsoever, if two of you shall agree. And then later he said, where two or three are gathered together in my name. But initially he said, if two of you shall agree. So that is a perfect picture of marriage, a perfect picture of a husband and a wife agreeing. And it's not just in theory and concept of saying, okay, I'm married now, things should work for me. It's like my wife likes to say, it's taking advantage of that synergy, coming together, praying together, and I know this subject might be awkward, especially for some guys, right? Is you start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. Start somewhere with that process, and maybe find time. As it works for you guys. I don't know your situation, so I don't want to say anything that will sound like a doctrine, right? But you can find what works for you and just make sure that you are maximizing that time. Pray together with your spouse. If you feel like it's awkward for you to hold your partner's hand and pray, you can start by praying at the exact same time, maybe in different parts of the room, and then if you're in church together, don't you pray together in church, right? And there's I don't know, there's so you have to just start from somewhere and try to make that something that, and try to understand your partner's spiritual desires and where they are. Try to see how your partner sees things. You guys have to be on the same page spiritually. That's one of the signs of a healthy marriage, where there's synergy, there's oneness, where you don't even have to argue about certain things. So when you're talking about giving, for instance, or you're talking about, how far should we go in our service to God? There's some things that are not even debatable because you guys are thinking the same way. You guys are, aligned together. You are one. There are several times my wife and I will be watching, maybe a preacher, and that says something. We almost tend to preempt each other. We know, the things that we believe. We know the things that are okay and the things that are not. So if somebody starts to speak something that is, that is sounding, we know. So the moment we start to talk about it, we are on the same page, So it's not something where I'm thinking, this is okay and this is not. And you have to do your best to get to that point by starting from somewhere, starting to talk about it, as early as possible, and try to understand each other. Try to engage in spiritual activities together. Don't be trying to do your own thing in isolation. I know it's tempting sometimes, right, to want to just go your own way and do your own thing, but that is for bachelorhood. That two coming together and making the most of marriage is so extremely important. It can catapult your life from where you are to where God really, really wants you to be. So spiritual oneness and synergy is another sign of a healthy marriage, and it is extremely critical. Number 4 here is trust and mutual respect. Trust and mutual respect. And this is an offshoot of openness and honesty. Okay, but trust is something that is built over time. Something that is built over time, and like they say, when it's broken, it's very difficult to regain it. But it's not impossible. It just takes work. When you're at a point where you can trust and respect your partner, your marriage, that's a sign of a healthy marriage. That's a good sign. When you can trust your partner and you respect the person, there's no putting down, there's no jokes at their expense, those kind of things. You guys love each other, you trust your partner, you are how do they say it now, you are secure with your partner. You are not monitoring them every minute of the day. Your partner goes somewhere, you want to know, where are you now, where are you now, where are you now, not because you are missing them or you want to talk to the person. It's just this insecurity where you feel like the person might be doing something, or the person, you have to work on that. That means there's still something, maybe something from the past that is now trying to show up in the present that you guys haven't really dealt with. Okay, so you need to talk about that and make sure that you guys are at the level where you trust each other, you respect each other, you respect your wife's gifts, the things that God has blessed her with, and you are helping her, grooming in that sense, right? Which is nurturing really, and cutting away the rough edges and trying to nurture those gifts and the things that God has put in her to show up. And the same for the wife, for the husband, being a helpmeet and all of those different things. So this is another critical sign. Now like I said, there's a lot more that we could say about this. I just want to touch on these things, right? And not go too far for the sake of time today. So this is another major sign. And we've talked about 4 now. So the first one, we've talked about openness and honesty. We've talked about good, mutually enjoyable sex. We've talked about spiritual oneness and synergy. And then we talked about trust and mutual respect. Finally, the last one that I have here for today is lifelong commitment and dedication. We're talking about 5 signs of a healthy marriage. So lifelong commitment and dedication. When you get to the point where you feel like you are sold out to this person for the rest of your life, there is no, in your heart, that you don't desire anything else, anyone else. You are not secretly wishing that maybe something will happen that will give you a fresh start. People have all these secret desires in their hearts that are not being communicated and expressed, but they show up in actions. They show up in the way people react and behave when certain things happen. When you come to a point in your marriage where, there was a point where I had to ask myself that question, to say, is this the person? Am I completely satisfied with my wife as she is for the rest of my life? And I accepted that, as this is my wife, and for the rest of my life, I'm committed to this person. I do not wish for another person. I'm not wishing for, I'm committing my totality into this marriage, and I am praying to God to help me to make it a lifelong commitment. When you get to that point in your heart, sincerely, and you can express it to your partner and all of that, you are in a healthy place, and you want to build on that, and not being in a healthy place doesn't mean everything is perfect and there's nothing else to work on. It just means that you are on the right track, and you should keep going on that track. Okay, so these are 5 signs of a healthy marriage that you want to look out for. If there's anything there that sounds like this, I need to work on this, that's what this is for really. It's not to say that one person's marriage is better than another, or that I have the best marriage, right? That's not the idea. We're all growing, we're all learning, and it's just to help each other out, every week here, just to put ideas out there for you to think about, things for you to consider, things for you to brood over and just think about, and be sure that your marriage is on the right path. This thing called marriage takes a lot of work, and the Bible says faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. If you don't hear things consistently about your marriage and building up your marriage, you won't have faith to do it. So that's why it's important that we talk about this every week, and that's why I take the time to do these videos every single week, just to talk about marriage, relationship, sex, sometimes talking about it from singles perspective, and then from the married people. You need all of this information. Even if you're not married yet, you are going to be married one day, and you will need all of this information. It's part of that building process. It's part of that process that we talked about last week, of preparing and enduring, preparing and building up endurance that you need to run this race called marriage. All right, thank you very much for watching the video today. I hope you were blessed by this. Share it with somebody, and make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn on notifications as well, so that you know when I have a new video out. I usually have new videos out on Sundays at 6 p.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. Until I see you again next week, God bless you.